It's time to open up the mailbag. And who are some free agents that I'd like to see the Marlins target this offseason?
You are Locked On Marlins, your daily podcast on the Miami Marlins. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome to Locked On Marlins. I'm your host, Jeremiah Geiger. I'm a diehard Marlins fan, and I've podcasted about the team for the last 4 seasons. You can find me on Twitter at Jeremiah Geiger2, and thank you for making Locked On Marlins your first listen of the day. It's part of the Locked On Podcast Network, which is your team every day. Make sure you're subscribed to the YouTube channel, leave a like, and leave a comment. Today's episode is brought to you by Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off your first purchase. So we've been discussing the 40-man roster. We've broke down the bullpen, the infielders, the outfielders, the starting rotation. That's going to be coming up in a future episode. But I wanted to open up the mailbag. You guys hit me up on Twitter, left me some really good questions, and we're going to dive right into it. We're also going to talk about free agent targets. I know I had a question surrounding that. Which free agents the Marlins should realistically target this offseason. So we're going to talk about that. And also Peter Bendix and his comments regarding Sandy Alcantara. But let's get right into this with the mailbag. Future is bright. He asks, could you see the Marlins trading some of their outfield depth for an all-star caliber player? So let's break down this question here. First off, do the Marlins have outfield depth? Absolutely. I did a rundown on the options on the 40-man roster. There are players who I don't see a path to everyday playing time. Dane Myers, I struggle to see his path to everyday playing time. Kemp Alderman could eventually force his hand onto the Marlins roster. He's not currently on the 40-man, but an incredible breakout year in AA and AAA. He's somebody who I truly believe in as a prospect. So I would throw him in there as somebody who is close to Major League ready and will add to this depth. Who would you trade away, though? Because I don't think the Marlins are going to consider moving Jacob Marcy or Kyle Stowers. That would make no sense. Griffin Conine, too small of a sample size to warrant moving him for a return. Conine, I think he's part of the Marlins' plans. Heriberto Hernandez, great story, could platoon with Conine in right field. But the short answer is no. I don't see the Marlins moving any of these outfielders for the return that you'd want to see. An all-star caliber player, the only guys that they would consider moving wouldn't get back an all-star. It would be lower level prospects if you traded Conine or Dane Myers or Hernandez. So I don't see the Marlins moving their outfield depth. I could see the Marlins, though, trading from their pitching depth. And I think that's a great discussion topic that will continue over this offseason, where we look at the Marlins rotation, and I'm going to do a breakdown on it later on. But the rotation depth, you can certainly move a piece or two away and get back a position player or another top prospect. The outfield depth, although it's nice, I don't think they have the star power that a team would really want to give up a lot for, because you're not moving Stowers, you're not moving Marcy. Next question here. We have Sportsman, who says, would you go into next year with Connor Norby and Graham Pauley at third? So internal options, those are the two options you have if you're the Marlins. Now, the real question is, I'm going to rephrase it like this. Should the Marlins sign a free agent third baseman? That's really what it comes down to. And the big fish this offseason is probably going to be Eugenio Suarez. Now, Eugenio Suarez didn't have a real good stint with the Mariners after he got traded from Arizona in the offseason. Alex Bregman has an opt-out this year. if he exercises it, which he probably will, had a good season with the Red Sox, he'll be a free agent and he'll command a ton of money. You have Max Muncy, Luis Urias, Gio Urshela. I mean, Muncy to me just screams Dodger for life. I don't see Muncy ever leaving the Dodgers. Maybe in the very end of his career, but he's a valuable player for them, and they're making a run. They just beat the Reds in the wild card series. Maybe he declares free agency, and we're going to talk about free agents later. But is Muncy worth that money when you have Graham Pauley, who's an elite defender at third base? I'm content personally with giving Graham Pauley the third base job and just knowing he's a vacuum at third, wizard with the glove. He's very underrated defensively. Not enough attention is spent on him from a national perspective. I think that narrative can change this year. I think he has gold glove potential at the hot corner. So I'm fine with a battle between Norby and Pauley at third. I just want to see Pauley win it. I'm a Graham Pauley believer. Connor Norby, I'm hoping that there's a place for him on this team. I just don't want to see it be at third base, because unless we see massive improvement, he's a liability there. Next question we have here. Lizard Snout, 2 questions. Again, really, really funny name there. Shout out Lizard. First question, is McCullough the answer at manager? I think I hit on that yesterday in yesterday's show. So we're going to go, or I talked about McCullough in yesterday's show. So we're going to talk about the second question now. Where's the best place to play Agustin Ramirez? How high is his offensive potential? He seemed to be grounding out a lot this past month. So the best place to play Agustin Ramirez, it's not catcher. It's just not. Scratch that off the list. And it's addition by subtraction, because he is a liability to your team and your chances to win when he's behind the plate. So then where does he play? He's not going to pull a Jorge Alfaro and play left field. That's not going to happen. And for all we know, the Marlins are going to roll into next season expecting him to improve behind the plate. I don't see it happening. And I think it's better now to just bite the bullet and accept the facts of the matter that he's not good defensively and move him to either first base. Well, no, not either first base. Move him to first base. You could move him to full-time DH and catch him once or twice a week, but that really wouldn't make sense, because typically your backup catcher is somebody who's pretty handy behind the plate and is a wall back there, can block pitches, can throw out runners. Augustin's value right now is only with his bat. That's it. So how can we maximize that player's value? Because if you decide, you know what, we're going to move him to full-time DH at 24, 25 years old, then, I mean, you've just cut his value in half, potentially, because give him a first baseman mitt or glove and train him this offseason to learn the position. This is what I would do. Teach him first base, get him with the coaching staff, the organization, whatever it takes, get him to a point where he's adequate at the position, and then you have your answer at first, because I think Augustin's offensive ceiling is bogged down when he's behind the plate. I don't think catching and hitting work for him in tandem. And the numbers back that up. Look at the splits when he's the designated hitter, and look at the stats when he is catching. But that's going to take us into the next segment, where we're going to talk about free agent targets. So looking at the guys we have on the roster now, the answer to me would be Augustin moves to first base and Joe Mack comes up, plays. He's the starting catcher. You have Liam Hicks, who spells him and is the backup. But there are free agent targets out there. and I had a mailbag question surrounding potential free agents and who the Marlins should realistically get. I'm going to give you my thoughts right after this. There's nothing like catching a baseball game live. The energy, the crowd, the chance to see your team in person, but actually getting tickets, that's the tough parts. You have queues, login screens, surprise fees. It takes all the fun out of it. And if you want to go see postseason baseball, because there's nothing like postseason baseball, if you're a Marlins fan and just want to catch a game, or if you're a fan of one of these teams, you're a diehard fan and happen to like the Marlins also, you should use Gametime. It's the app that gives the advantage back to the fans. Gametime is fast, easy, and backed by the Gametime guarantee. You'll always get 100% authentic tickets delivered on time and at the best price. And the best part for me is that all fees are included. There's no hidden fees. You're not going to be taken by surprise. Where'd that number come from? It's all right there in front of you. So it's faster, it's cheaper, and it's less stressful than other ways of buying tickets. So download the Gametime app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, that's promo code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off. Swipe, tap, ticket, go. Download Gametime today. Most people can't name all their financial accounts or even what they're worth, whether it's 401ks, properties, or investments. And when you don't have the full picture, you can end up leaving money on the table. That's why there's Monarch Money. It's an all-in-one personal finance tool that brings your entire financial life together in one clean, easy-to-use interface on your laptop or your phone. Monarch is built for people with busy lives. If you've put off organizing your finance, Monarch is for you. Monarch does the heavy lifting for you. You can link all your accounts in minutes, see clear data visuals, and feel in control of your money at long last without ever touching a spreadsheet. You can identify that you're not saving as much as you thought. Monarch's going to help you notice that inefficient investment allocation. So don't let financial opportunities slip through the cracks. Use code LOCKEDONMLB at monarchmoney.com in your browser for half off your first year. That's 50% off your first year at monarchmoney.com with code LOCKEDONMLB. Thank you to all the everyday listeners who tune into Locked On Marlins throughout the week. We have a mailbag show, and always, whatever day it is, just submit your questions. You can tag me on Twitter at Jeremiah Geiger 2. You can DM me. You can leave them in the comments. I read the YouTube comments, and I'll incorporate it into the show. This is pretty much a mailbag episode where I have a lot of questions. I put that out there on Twitter, but feel free throughout the week, and I'll do my best to answer them. Free agent targets. This was from Victor, Box the Base. He said, name some free agents you realistically want them to go after. So here's the key, right? Realistically. That's the key word. Now, Craig Mish says and expects this Marlins team to be active this offseason. In terms of free agents, he expects them to do something. And they really don't have a much to jump. I guess what I'm trying to say is they don't have much further to go in terms of action. Like, this team signed 2 free agents over the last 2 years. I guess 3 if you want to count Eric Wagman. I'll give you that. Eric Wagman, Cal Quantrill before 2025, and then Tim Anderson. But since Peter Bendix has been the president of baseball operations, this team has been completely dormant in terms of the hot stove season with free agents specifically. It just doesn't happen. So if Craig Mish, Marlins insider, is indicating that things could change, well, then that's a real exciting development, because I think this is part of the plan. You build a young core and you supplement it by free agent signings. So who are some realistic options? So we talked about first base, how I said I would like to see Augustine learn the position. Other catchers have done it. Joe Mauer's done it. Salvador Perez has done it. Buster Posey played first base. It's not impossible for a catcher to make that transition. It's just not. Wilson Contreras for the Cardinals stopped catching, played first base. It's a common thing. I don't know why this isn't really talked about more, but I digress. Because I'm looking at the first base free agents, and there's some tantalizing names. And the big fish, no pun intended, Pete Alonso, Josh Naylor. Are they realistic? Well, let's think. If I'm going off of Marlins history, I'm going to say no. And I'd laugh. Because the idea of the Marlins ponying up enough cash to get a Pete Alonso to play in Lone Depot, to get Josh Naylor to play in Lone Depot and be a part of the Marlins, it feels like a pipe dream. But it should happen. And I think Josh Naylor is the more realistic target than Pete Alonso. Naylor's going to sign a multi-year deal. The Marlins haven't signed a multi-year deal since Avisail Garcia, Jorge Soler. I mean, Garcia was 50 plus million. Soler, I think, was 30 million. So they haven't shown that type of commitment. How high do they go? Do they offer Josh Naylor a 3 or 4 year deal? Maybe my idea for Josh Naylor is going to be completely, ripped up, set on fire, and he signs with, I don't know, the Yankees or the Red Sox, one of those big market teams, a 6-year, $90 million deal. And then I'll say, okay, well, the Marlins were never going to do that. So that's my dream free agent signing is Josh Naylor. But looking down the list, I think the most realistic free agent targets I want to see this team go after, multiple bullpen arms. Someone like a Rogers twin. You get Tyler Rogers, Taylor Rogers, one of those guys that can give you some valuable late innings. You have Luke Weaver from the Yankees. Weaver's somebody who I could consider the Marlins going after, giving you another late bullpen arm. And I think the Marlins are going to be more inclined to spend money to ensure the bullpen is strengthened on 2 or 3 guys, maybe some nice contracts too, than spend all that money on 1 or 2 targets, one big target in a Josh Naylor or Pete Alonso. I mean, in the bullpen, Devin Williams, Ryan Helsley, who's coming off of a down season. I'd love any of those guys to be a part of the Miami pen. Kyle Finnegan as well, because to me, you don't need to sign a free agent starter. The depth is in an awesome place. You don't need to sign an outfielder. Infield, I'm fine with Graham Pauley at third. Otto Lopez is a very solid shortstop. Xavier Edwards, good second baseman. First base, I'd be more than happy if the Marlins went out and signed Josh Naylor. Joe Mack is the truth in AAA. We're just waiting for his debut. That bullpen needs to be shored up. And it's not just by external free agent signings. I'd like to see the Marlins call up Josh White to be a part of the opening day roster. Dominant reliever in AAA. Shut down AAA hitters. Strikeout machine. Never got a chance in the majors this year. Christian Roa, who I really like, got a brief cup of coffee. He went to Starbucks, took a sip or two, and they whisked him out of there and optioned him back to the jumbo shrimp. Christian Roa should be up. The bullpen has some good pieces internally, but it could be a strength of this team if they invest in it in the offseason. And that's what this team should be doing from a top to bottom overall perspective. How can we strengthen this organization? How can we get this team to take the next step to be a playoff caliber team? A big part of that is health. Kyle Stowers stays healthy. If Jacob Marcy stays healthy for the entire season, then you had Marcy for 2 months. Now you're going to have him for April, May, June, July. So 4 more months of Marcy and the type of player that he is. We're going to see Joe Mack. We didn't see Joe Mack this season. And the value that he's going to bring, not just to your lineup, but to your defense. So I'm really excited with where this team is headed. And whether that they're going to make some trades this offseason, free agents. I just want this team to continue to build, not tear down, but build. And we're going to talk about what statement the Marlins can make this offseason by continuing to build something special and by not trading Sandy Alcantara. That's coming up right after this. The NFL season is here, and FanDuel has an offer you don't want to miss. Right now, new customers can bet just $5 and get $300 in bonus bets if you win. That's right. You pick a bet, put down $5, and if it hits, you'll get $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. FanDuel's great because it gives you so many ways to play. You can build parlays, player props, follow the live lines during game, hop in during the live action. It makes watching football even more exciting when you've got a little something riding on the action. Whether you're a casual fan or you love diving into the stats, FanDuel makes the game day experience so much better. One of the lines I'm looking at is tomorrow, Thursday Night Football, Niners and Rams divisional matchup. Last time I checked, it was 8.5 points. The Rams were favorites by. I'm just saying, it's tough for a division opponent to be held in check, even without Brock Purdy. So I might lean Niners on that one. And if you have a hunch, you can do the same. Visit FanDuel.com to download the FanDuel app today and get started. Hey, if you're not subscribed to the YouTube channel, do me a favor, hit that subscribe button, share the podcast with your friends as well. And remember that Locked on Marlins is available wherever you get your podcasts, on all the major podcast platforms. I want to see the Marlins continue to build something special. I really do. I think in my heart of hearts, this team can be a playoff team in 2026 and beyond. But at some point, the Marlins are going to have to build and commit. No more teardowns, no more uncertainty and this non-committal approach to your best players. Marlins fans and myself, we're tired of seeing the best players get traded away. I'm sure you already know where I'm going with this, but I want to talk about Sandy Alcantara for a second. So this is a tweet from Isaac Azut from Fish on First, and he was at the Peter Bendix presser. And he said, when asked if he would feel comfortable saying that Sandy Alcantara would be in spring training with the Marlins next season, as they announced early last winter, Bendix said, quote, "I'm not going to speculate on any individual player. We're always looking for ways to improve our club, and I'm going to stay as disciplined as possible in doing that," end quote. So shout out Isaac Azut for that. My response is this. Sandy Alcantara is not just an individual player. He's the face of your franchise. He's been here forever. He loves being a Marlin. He wants to win as a Marlin. He took a very team-friendly contract extension a few years back. He was ecstatic that he wasn't traded at the trade deadline. And I have a sinking feeling in my gut, in my heart, that the Marlins are going to move on from him. And that this will be the pitching depth that they'll trade away. Because Sandy Alcantara, his value is high right now. He pitched well to close out the year. But to me, that's something you hold on to. To me, you look at your pitching rotation next year and you have a three-headed monster with Sandy, Baby Goat, Yuri Perez, and Edward Cabrera. And then your 4 and your 5, you can have Robbie Snelling up there. Jansen Junk's an option. Braxton Garrett will be coming back. There's so many avenues you can go down. But the avenue that you shouldn't go down is trade your ace commit to him because I think the Marlins will be worse without him, and that's clear and obvious. But it will be another example of the same old Marlins doing the same old Marlins things, trading their best players. You have your core established. Now it's about making tweaks and additions and still adding to the core. It's not a finished product, so I shouldn't say it's completely established. But it's trending in the right direction. Trading Sandy Alcantara just takes the wind out of the sails. It defeats the fan base who are passionate about this team and who are passionate about watching Sandy pitch. And this isn't just the biased part of my fandom speaking. Yes, it is a little biased because I'm a huge Sandy Alcantara fan. I love seeing him pitch on the Marlins, but we all thought Sandy Alcantara was going to get traded this summer, and he didn't. And then the Marlins proceeded to stay in wildcard contention throughout the trade deadline. Yeah, they hit a slump, they go down, but they climbed back into it to finish with a 17-game improvement from a year ago. 17 games. That's not a small jump from a 100-loss team to finishing 4 games under 500. Run it back and then make additions. You don't have to trade him to achieve your goals of being a consistent, perennial contender. Yes, the goal is not just focused on 1 year. It's not just one season. We're going to push all our chips onto the table. But trading Sandy Alcantara isn't going to deter or take away, rather, from that end goal of being a consistent contender. We all want to be a consistent contender. And we know Sandy Alcantara is going to be making money. I think he's slotted to make $21 million, somewhere around there, $23 million in 2026. So if you trade him, yeah, you're taking the money off the books. And what does that look like? It looks like a team that's not willing to spend. You have to spend. You have to. You can't trade everybody away that just makes a good chunk of change. That's not the way to operate. Not when you're in the middle of building something legit, something with substance, something that the fans can get behind. And the fans can get behind a team that has Sandy, Cabrera, and Yuri, and that made bullpen additions, maybe addressed first base, maybe addressed third base. Who knows? Traded. I didn't even talk about Ryan Weathers, but I'm just going to use him as an example in this case. Traded Ryan Weathers or, Braxton Garrett or another pitcher for a strong bat, a top prospect. There's so much that the Marlins can do this offseason without the main focus being, well, let's just keep trading because that's what we're used to. It's Stockholm syndrome, and that's what the fan base has to recognize. We can't just sit back and say, well, Sandy's value is really high. He could get us some top prospects. Sure. You know who could get some top prospects is Shohei Ohtani, Aaron Judge, Roman Anthony, Paul Skeens. Paul Skeens could get you a haul. Pirates aren't going to trade Paul Skeens. The Red Sox aren't going to trade Roman Anthony. I mean, yeah, he's technically a prospect himself, but you don't trade the pieces of your team that make you that team, that give you a chance to go win. Because 2026, Sandy, if he's on the Marlins, I'm expecting huge things from him. Huge season. And I hope he's still pitching in Miami. Yeah, I would hate to see him go and not be a part of this. That's going to do it for today's edition of Locked On Marlins. I appreciate you guys for listening, for tuning in. As always, stay safe, stay locked on, and let's go fish.